story must be told. If we are to play a part in preventing the extinction of this animal, then we must all be part of the battle.
A partnership between WWF South Africa and WESA, supported by US Aid.
This is incredible. Looks like vivid monkeys do sometimes go for swims. I heard something splash, but we couldn't see what it was in the long grass. Now I just saw that thing swimming there. This is incredible. I hope it gets to the bank. There are crocodiles in this dam. And looks like, you see that monkey climb up into the tree? Wow.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
My favorite animal is a leopard, purely because I just think they are just the epitome of feline grace and power, and the way they can move about in any environment and remain hidden until they want to be seen, I just find incredibly intoxicating, and they're amazingly beautiful.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth. This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve. It's a very overcast, drizzly morning, but that's fine. We're still going to head out, have the best time possible, and see what we can find. Welcome. My name's John T. We've got BK on the camera, and we are going to be exploring. We're actually here. This is the little bush where we saw the snake yesterday. BK and I discussing whether it is in fact the same bush. It looks a bit different this morning. Our plan is to go and see. We saw Tlalamba late in the drive yesterday afternoon, so we're doing a loop around to see where she popped out of that block. But as always, please send in your comments and questions using the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter, at FC on YouTube, and if you're under the age of 18, pop us a mail on kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. You can register on the Wild Earth website, head over to the live safari page, and you can submit your questions there. So when we left Tlalamba last night, she was sort of heading in between Rebecca's Road and Philemon's Cut Line. So we'll take Zoe's all the way down to the western edge of Philemon's Cut Line and then drive that road eastwards and see if we get a bit lucky. I highly doubt she would have gone further west than that. If anything, would have gone a bit more south and then done a southeast and then back north loop towards the den side. Just sitting quietly a little bit, enjoying that scene. Yeah, Martin, let's see what this brings. When it's nice and cool, we know they do often are active a little bit longer into the morning. but quite a contrast to yesterday afternoon. Beautiful sunlight, but this still has its own beauty in its way. While we enjoy this view, we're going to have a look at the weather that we're going to have today.
Good morning, everybody. What a glorious morning out here in the Sabi Sand Djuma Game Reserve. My name is Chris and I've got a pink hat today. Last day hat. And with me on cam-ops is David. He's spending the last morning with me on Wendy. And I must say that I'm a little bit disappointed because I don't know what Jonty has done with this car. She's just not the same woman that I handed over to him. So that is another thing I'll take up with him when we're back from this morning drive. It's a little bit of a drizzle, a little bit of a foggy morning. Temperature is fine. So I don't know what to make of it in terms of animal movement, but we're gonna give it our best. So our plan is, last morning I'd really like to go and see if there's anything happening at the Hyena den. That would be a fitting sort of, I wouldn't say farewell really, just a bit of a goodbye. I must say that Wendy's definitely picked up a few niggles after Jonty's had her. All sorts of squeaks. It's just not the same. So Jonty is looking for Tlalamba. There's some fresh hyena tracks right here, heading towards the den site. So I think that's going to be our first stop. I can tell you one thing, I'm delighted that it's not one of those seriously hot mornings. The temperature is absolutely amazing. But yeah, let's see what it brings.
I've always dreamed of Africa since I was a little girl. And then I just decided, you know what? It's time to come. It's time to just live the dream.
If you want to go on safari with a WildEarth guide, whilst honing your bush knowledge and of course featuring in one of our shows, then head over to our website.
It is so exciting. You're able to see the difference of what you see on TV to how much work it actually is creating what you see on TV. The leopards, mareeps. How could you not really fall in love with that cat? He's got such a personality, and you never know what he's going to do.
Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer, and you could be making your first ever on-screen appearance.
It's about just being together and seeing and enjoying the animals and the great outdoors. It's just been a great experience. Certainly, if anyone's able to, dare to dream and come.
For those of you who love to join us on safari here on WildEarth, we have some news.
This is incredibly exciting.
The team have trawled through the archives and found the very best of Safari Live from over the years.
Come and disperse there.
With locations such as the Masai Mara in Kenya.
You can see how close he is from where I am.
Tswalu in the Kalahari.
It is absolutely incredible.
And of course Pinda and Ngala right here on our doorstep.
Listen.
we have hours of great entertainment that is now playing on our channel. Catch up with guides from the past and of course your favorite animal characters.
It's happening. I've never seen this before.
The best of Safari Live will be broadcast on WildEarth Channel daily, so jump on board and join us down memory lane. Times for this brand new series are on our website.
Oh, what are you doing? Are you trying out for the ballet? Now it's an itchy bottom. Up we get. Mom's coming. Everybody's moving off.
Right. We are still en route to the Hyena Den. I really hope there's going to be something there. Other than that, one thing I've not seen during this shift is wild dogs. I mean, can you imagine if we can find some dogs today? I mean, highly unlikely, but that would be like a treat for me this morning if we can find some dogs. James. Good morning, James. James is crossing fingers for our leopard luck to continue. Well, I dearly hope so. Just have to excuse me, I did pick up a bit of an airway. Little niggle myself in the last couple of days with all the rain and stuff. I'm okay, it's nothing to worry about. So this is the entrance to the Hyena Den. Let's see if anything unfolds here. I mean, after a day like yesterday, if there's nothing happening, it would be very understandable. But let's go and take a look. Good morning, Becky. Becky is hoping for a bit of a hyena resolution today. Now, well, we can start off with one of them. There's one hyena moving up and about. And we just got a glimpse of it there, but let's see. There we go. Seems to be lingering around the immediate vicinity of the den site. So let's just go to the actual termite mound and see what's happening there. At least there's one hyena, which is already a bonus. I mean, I'm not going to see hyenas for some time. Well, there seems to be quite a lot of action here. Not action, but there's stuff happening. Oh, goodness. Well, let's take a look at what's happening here. There seems to be a whole lot of stuff happening here. Wow. Oh, this is quite interesting. So here's Ribbon. Hello, girl. Yes, you're a big guy, you know, eh? So that one that was with them there, could that have been Djuma perhaps, or? Not entirely sure. Definitely very friendly. Ribbon is around here. Or perhaps in the belly, that first one. You guys have to forgive me, even after all this time. I've got a bit of a mind block when it comes to IDing these hyenas. Interesting stuff. It's like those little ones want to come close. This is exactly what I was hoping for. It's making like TDD, yeah. Good day, Travis. Good morning. And your question there, if any of them would hurt the cubs, I doubt whether they'll actually hurt them. I mean, there was, in the last 3-4 weeks, so many opportunities for them to hurt the cubs should they want to. So let's make quickly turn myself around here because my stuff's falling out here. So definitely, that's not their intention. Goodness, there's one smelling my shoe here. I was just like turned like this and my foot hanging out, and I just feel this bump, and it was literally one of them sniffing my shoe. A bit unexpected there. A bit too close for comfort then. But coming back to your question, there was more than enough opportunity if they wanted to. Now, normally in a takeover like this, they seldom will actually kill the cubs. They will just have a much lower status. I've heard about occasions where it did happen when the cubs were killed, but that often would have been more a case of a male that, in terms of the clan male, that, you know, remember the clan male is not in any position of authority, but in terms of the breeding, if you have a different clan male that sort of becomes the top male, you might have sort of euthanasia of cubs. But in this case, I don't think they will. But I might be wrong, you know. Well, we're going to spend as much time here as possible, but I think this is a great opportunity to say hello to JP.
Good morning and welcome to Eco Trading Pridelands. At the moment we're at Leopard Dam doing a little bit of early morning birding, as well as looking at all the different foam nests that has popped up from the southern foam nest frogs. It's just amazing how many of them has now been made in the last few days since it started raining. So my name is JP LaRue, and behind the camera we've got Morgan. And Morgan is doing his last day of work, and then tomorrow off on to leave. We're going to miss him. And right over here, we're going to just scan around the pan and just talk about a few things that we see. At the moment, we didn't mention that there's a large amount of foam nest frog nests. For those of the first-time viewers that are not familiar with the foam nest frogs, these frogs actually have a strategy where they will create a meringue-like nest structure in a tree where the tadpoles and the eggs will develop in, and then the tadpole will drop down into the water. So in that way, there's less risk of egg predation. Some of the other things that I've been looking at this morning was a Diederik's cuckoo, and quite interesting to watch this Diederik's cuckoo, as it had a mouthful of caterpillars that it had wanted to present to a female, and this is one of the ways that they will form part of their courtship display to impress a female. But once they have mated, that female will have to go and dump her eggs in the nest of a number of different weaver species, which she will use as her host to raise those chicks for her. It's also quite interesting that they've specially adapted to dealing with quite hairy caterpillars as well, and those spines don't actually affect them in any way. And it seems that they form a little ball and then regurgitate those hairs, which will normally irritate our skin. We also had a quick glimpse on our monkeys that has formed a big troop around this area at the moment, and we noticed yesterday that most of these females all have little ones. I'm really hoping that we'll be finding them again. Those little vet monkeys are really, really cute. Good morning, Vicky, and welcome to the show. I've actually never seen anything eating that foam, and quite often you'll also see that it'll actually be on the tree for quite a long time, even although the tadpoles have already dropped into the water.
Look at that, it's amazing. Wow. Hey.
And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Live.
Oh, that's cool. Just in there.
And the black mamba is going up the tree and the mongoose is attacking it.
Gonna pounce again.
sure you can all agree with me. It's not a bad start to our Wednesday morning.
Something that I have never seen before in my entire life that you are now watching live.
Look at that. It's just beautiful.
Fantastic display by a little herd of springbuck.
How is this view?
My heart is in my mouth, everybody.
Amazing, they've locked their tusks together. You can hear the cracking branches.
It is so incredible to spend this time so close to an African penguin, and it's completely unfazed by my presence whatsoever.
How insane is that animal?
Amazing.
Hey!
Awesome.
It is fantastic to watch.
Well, now we've got a tug of war between mom and daughter, look.
Just at a loss for words. That's just incredible to see that.
So, still going on. I was just chatting to David, and he just mentioned something very interesting. Is like we can get arguably some of the top biologists in the world here, and we'll probably still won't figure out what's happening here. I mean, this is going to take not only a week or two's observation. I mean, this is going to have to take a while to determine what's actually unfolding. And there you go. That's another one sniffing my foot here. That was also, again, rather unexpected. This time it was my shin. Well, I don't mind them doing that. It's just they might have this little investigatory bite on my foot, and you don't want an animal with 1,100 psi bite force to nibble on your toes. It's going to mess up my morning a little bit. WildEarth lover. Yes, it's my last day hat. I actually got this as a gift. The last expedition, the WildEarth expedition that was here at Tumbeta House, about three or 4 weeks ago, invited the crew, all of us, for a dinner the one night, and they brought a whole lot of gifts for us, the unbranded hats, caps, buffs, all sorts of little things that we could use out there. And I thought this is the perfect opportunity to wear a pink hat today. Well, it's brought me some luck already. What a perfect way to spend your last morning out here for the shift with this absolute beauty of a sighting. For a change, there's no pandemonium. They all seem to be very calm. Good morning, Britterans. When they hunt, it's usually as a clan, or at least a few of the clan members together. And so, look, they're not as fast as the cats, for instance, so they'll start trailing a potential prey species, start running, and often the prey species will be somewhat faster, but they won't be able to maintain that speed for too long, whereas the hyenas can maintain it for almost indefinite periods, so they'll virtually run their prey down, and what they'll try to do is to, with those extremely powerful jaws, try and anchor the animals. You'll have one or two of these animals trying to bite the animal to hold it down, and that will enable the rest of them to come in and virtually, it's going to sound very graphic, but rip it apart. It sounds extremely gruesome, and while not as apparently clinical as the cats, it's very effective. It does kill the animal extremely quickly. Like wild dogs, this also led to the myth that they eat their prey alive. This is not entirely true. They don't have the sharp and powerful claws of cats, so they can't hold the prey down and then in order to get to the neck or the throat in order to deliver a killing bite. So therefore, their jaws would rather latch onto the animal, try and anchor it, slow it down so the other members can get around, and then they very quickly rip it apart. And it's instant. It's in fact very quickly. Smaller animals are usually bitten either along the back or the neck area, which will also result in instant mortality as such. Okay, so one thing that's happened here, Ribbon has moved away, and it seems like most of the others as well. So as far as the den entrance is concerned, we probably have to move off. Unless Ribbon returns. We'll give it another 5 minutes. If she doesn't return, we'll probably move away. With the hyena smelling my foot, it reminds me of a story. One of the lodges I worked with in the same Sabi Sand in the south, we had a colleague. John T will know him very well. A guy by the name of Mark. A very well-known character. I'm not going to elaborate on his surname and stuff, but he used to sleep a lot with his door open in his room there. And I remember one day I had to convey a message to him of something, and I had dinner with my guests, and I came back and he's already asleep. And I got into his room, and we told him, don't sleep with your door open. It's going to be something that's going to bite you. I got into his room, and there's this massive hyena female licking his feet while he was sleeping. And that could have turned pear-shaped very quickly. So the hyena had quite a bit of a fright, and the same moment I saw the hyena, it saw me, and we both sort of had this fright, and I don't know, somehow in that little doorway we managed to pass each other. I'm not sure how that happened, but needless to say, from there onwards, this colleague of ours made sure his door was closed when he went to bed. All right, I reckon we should move away from the den. I can see them all moving towards Twin Dam, so let's go and see what they're up to there.
Christmas is coming. The geese are getting fat. The babies are awakening, and it's time for a fireside chat. The reindeers prepare for a global bumble. At Christmas time, they are the kings of the jungle. The chicks are all nestled and snug in their nest. Join us at the fire with a very special guest. Sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer and join in the fun.
There is clearly something in the vicinity around you that's drawn their attention. Yes, that meerkat in the tree is just the coolest of cool meerkats. But watch how he battles when he comes down. That would be like me climbing a tree, just better.
Hello, my name is Jean-Pierre Leroux, and for most people, I'm just JP. In terms of a profession, I work as a professional tourist guide on a national level, both for nature, culture, birding, as well as adventure. I'm also qualified as a marine guide. Further, I also work as a trainer, assessor, and a moderator when it comes to training field guides. There's quite a wide range of different survival skills that I have out here. But one of the most important ones that I would like to share with you is how to deal with extreme cold to prevent that the body will shut down. It's actually very simple. You take a tea candle, you put that between your legs, and you light that, and then bring a space blanket over yourself and wrap yourself into it. It's just very important that you don't get the naked flame and the space blanket in contact with one another, and that helps you to actually heat up the body very rapidly under extremely cold conditions.
Okay, just an update what BK and I are up to. We came and checked Treehouse Dam. There's not too much there. And then we were driving this road's called Savage's Track. And we were going to go check Gowrie Main, check that boundary, but we just saw tracks of a male leopard coming sort of the opposite way to us. And so we've just turned around to try and see which way they've gone. But the problem is we've driven here now, so we might have missed the tracks here and have driven on top of them. But from what it looked like, the tracks that we saw there, they sort of came down, went into a bush and then back onto the road. So presuming it was a male leopard scent marking. Now we got to start looking carefully, because those tracks that we just saw now, they look like they're from early this morning, like they haven't been disrupted by the rain yet. Let's start with one, Sally, and then we'll take it from there. Doesn't look like there's any tracks here. I wonder. What I might have to do is go back to that last day and just have a proper look and maybe see which way they turn, because I can't see anything here. This, you can see this is quite nice and soft. We should be able to see if it had walked here, and it really doesn't. It doesn't look like anything's walked here. Yeah, let me turn around and go have a proper look there. It might have cut down towards the dam. Morning, Mike. There's, I think the Hyena den was active. I'm just working around Treehouse Dam. There's tracks of a male leopard in this area heading east. I'm just trying to figure out where they go from here.
Thank you so much, yeah. I'm going to come to the area to book and be safe, after I'm going to hang out because I'm looking for a street.
Copy. There's also some Mkombe Dam. My favorite thing about tracking Esther is, I think it's the whole challenge of now trying to find the animal that's left these tracks. So trying to think, what could it possibly be doing? Try almost get into the mindset of that animal. So like now I'm thinking, where we saw the tracks of that leopard, the dam is obviously the one thing that comes straight to my mind, this waterhole, because potentially it wants to come and drink here. Scent marking, so we saw that it's scent marked up on the road. So often male leopards, when they're scent marking, they walk very directly. So like all of those sort of things are going on in your brain. But then also it's just the challenge. Like now, we haven't seen the tracks again. So it's the challenge of trying to stay on that trail until hopefully you get, you know, to see the animal. But it's also patience to track. It's a very patient exercise. You see, there's a game path that went off here. I might have to go for a walk down here, BK. Or even up there it could have gone. So what we'll do is, you've got to sort of process some of elimination. When you see certain clues. And I'm just trying to drive not on the, because I don't want to drive over the tracks now. This is obviously the second time we're driving down this road. So yeah, I think I'm gonna have to get off and just walk up and down here a little bit. While we try to figure out where this leopard's gone, you're gonna head over to Chris.
So the hyenas all moved off, and I'm thinking to perhaps head down to Chitra, just do a little bit of a recce there and see what's up. And will probably take us about 15 minutes or so to get there. Just as a bit of a adios type of trip to that part of our traversing. The hyenas have been sniffing around a lot here, so therefore I'm driving rather slow. I just want to make sure, and David actually mentioned that there's the same spot where they were sniffing, and I'm not sure what's up there, whether it's other hyenas that entered the area, perhaps another predator that went past here. I mean, this is right there where we had the kudu barking the other day. You never know. Can't really see anything. Hi there, Margaret. I absolutely love that question. Margaret wants to know if Hyena would hunt another predator, let's say a lion or a leopard. Now, I won't really say hunt them, but attack them definitely. I've seen hyenas taking lion cubs, leopard cubs, kill lions, kill leopards, kill wild dogs, fight with wild dogs. I've seen them being killed by some of these other predators. And what you'll have is, within the predator community here, across the species, especially the large ones, you have this inter-specific competition, as we refer to it. And you've got a bit of a rule of the thumb where the stronger or higher placed predator will always try and attack the lower one. Now that can change in terms of numbers and so forth. So therefore, for instance, a lioness walking around, or pride lions, they find a leopard or a hyenas, they will try and attack them and try and eliminate them, because they're all competition for the same food resource, or there's a large overlap in their food resources. I mean, just like your dog at home, for instance, that's a perfect example. Unless trained, most dogs will instinctively chase cats around when they see them, and it's that same instinct is to try to eliminate that predator that competes for the same resource. It's an instinct that they have. However, with hyenas, I've seen that they'll often consume. Let's say if they've killed something like a leopard cub or whatever, they'll consume them. Lions, for instance, tend to kill hyenas and leopards and so forth and leave them just there, and seldom actually consume them. So it's a grey area. So I won't say they hunt other predators, but they will attack other predators, and often, at times, even kill them. No, it's a hard world out there. It's not easy. It's like an arms race between predator and prey, and it's fascinating. Yeah, nothing really happening anymore. Anna wants to know if there's any line updates. Unfortunately not. I'm going to get an update soon on Chitwa. I'm a little bit too far still to get an update on any movement there. Maybe the Nkumas are there, we never know. I've not seen the Nkumas. So, I mean, just hoping that this last day will bring about perhaps something new for the last time. Now that this little drizzle has stopped, this is a perfect time to listen out for predators calling. And we're going to do exactly that.
had the lionesses, we had Darkman, of course, doing his best to protect them and to catch a buffalo for them for dinner. But unfortunately, as soon as the buffalo came along, he hot-tailed in the opposite direction. No, we're having a fabulous time, and it's really been magnificent so far. Thank you.
Cape Nature is the chief custodian of the Western Cape of South Africa's natural environment. This highly successful organization strives to conserve the province's natural heritage to ensure a sustainable future. Besides nurturing nature, Cape Nature offers an authentic ecotourism experience to local and international visitors. And one of these experiences is walking amongst the penguins at Stony Point, or as we know it, Penguin Beach. WildEarth broadcasts live from here every day and is very privileged to be partnered with Cape Nature, who have focused their conservation efforts here. If you want to visit these iconic black and white African penguins for yourself, then head over to our website to find out more. Cape Nature. Conserve, explore, experience.
So there we go, look. All three in one frame. Look at that, isn't that cool? Oh, that is so special. That is exactly what we had been hoping for, is all three of them to come together and make the perfect little family portrait.
Welcome back, everyone. So just to update, I had a quick walk around there behind the car, and there's one potential spot where it looked like the track might have gone further south, but I'll just say to BK, these tracks are all the way along here and they're fresh. These are fresh tracks, and the last section where we actually spotted them, they look like they were running. So almost as if to run to get away from us. So what I'm going to do is go check Gowrie and actually do a loop back around and see if we can catch this thing out. Because sometimes with leopards, when you're tracking them, you'll be tracking, and you'll start doing like a loop, and then you find the leopard's tracks on top of yours. And then you're just going to have a look at what Chris has found.
It looks like it's all happening this morning in a slow, easy, enjoyable way. Just left our hyenas and bang, here's this big male giraffe, big bull. This area does have a lower density of giraffe than other parts of the park. And one of our theories is that this is mainly a woodland that consists out of broad-leaved trees, mainly the dominating trees being the bush willow species, red bush willow, branch-fruited bush willow, and lots of cluster leaves. And though it provides an abundance of leaves to feed on, those leaves do contain a lot of tannin. So now look at this guy, he's approaching another tree here. And that is what you want. You want thorn trees. So usually acacias, or now we refer to them as Senegalias or Vachilias, or in general the thorn trees, which have small little leaflets that's much more nutritious. Therefore, the thorns is to protect themselves from overbrowsing. So the areas where you've got a higher density of these thorn trees, you'll find a larger density of giraffe. Good morning, Chase. Yeah, indeed. They do look very calm and relaxed. Just such a chilled out life, I tell you. It's like they're never in a hurry. At least not here. I mean, you'll find in East Africa when they have to cross those massive plains, especially in the Mara Serengeti system, where there's long stretches of no trees, you often see them crossing those very, very quickly in order to get to the next sort of woodland patch, usually along the streams or rivers. And that, in a way, gave name to its name, giraffe, which is a word that has its origins from an Arab word, zirafa or zirafa, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, zarafa, or anyway, which translates into the one who walks very quickly or swiftly. Well, this is a stunning specimen, massive bull. He towers above that cluster leaf there. Hi, good day, Lois. Yeah, that neck weighs quite a few kilograms, very strong, lots of muscles. It's gone into that thicket there. In spite of its height, they can disappear. Right, let's continue towards Chitwa Dam and let's go and see what's happening there. That was lovely. En route to Chitwa Dam, let's head to Jonty to see how his tracking excursion is unfolding.
Okay, so we just decided to come and check Gowrie Main because it would be easy to see if this leopard crossed out here. But what I was saying just before we linked to Chris, sometimes these leopards can be a little bit cunning. So sometimes you'll be tracking and you end up doing like a loop, and then you see the leopard's tracks on top of yours, and that's when you just walk back to the car and carry on driving because it's playing games with you. But I've almost got a feeling that this leopard trotted forward to sneak off of the road from us, because the tracks before we got to the place where we saw them were coming down the road at a normal walk, and then the 10 meters where we saw them, they were running, and then they go off the road. So I want to just make sure that they didn't cross here. And then what we'll do is go around again and drive back towards where we saw the tracks from a little bit further east. Because often what they'll do is they'll go off the road, and then when you go past, they come back on and carry on walking down. I wonder if we should try here. There's some hyena tracks here. Denise, some guys you will be able to if you sort of fully in touch with which leopards are moving in which area. I haven't been here. I wouldn't want to try and claim that just yet. Sometimes some of them will have something unique on their track, like a scar or something through the pad, and then you know, okay, cool, that's that individual. But these tracks did look like they're pretty a nice decent size for a male leopard, and the fact that it was kind of from the behavior, if it was actually going off of the road because of us, the male leopard that's in this area that does that is Mlawati. But with a bit of time in an area and getting to know their territories and their movements, you could get pretty good at saying, okay, cool, if you see a track on this road, it's more than likely going to be this individual. With females, it can be a bit harder. If you think in that one section we were in, there's been 3 female leopards in that area. So they're sort of overlapping each other. It's hyena, huh? Sounds like Chris has made his way onto Chitwa. Go have a look and see what he's looking at.
Is someone gonna get past us here?
I'm coming. And there's some geese fighting on the opposite bank. They're rather far from here. And there's hippo. I'm trying to find the little castlings. They must be somewhere. I think they're just below the dam wall here. Might be a tricky one to frame up where we are now. No sign of the crockeroos. I might need to reposition. I can hear another vehicle approaching. They might want to cross this dam wall. Yeah, indeed. Might need to reposition. Might actually even be able to get an update. Hello there. Hello. How are you doing today? You well?
Sorry.
How's your morning been?
Quiet.
Likewise. Anything happening? Our side's very quiet as well. Jonty's tracking a leopard. But I know. We had Lalamba last night.
We did.
Yeah.
Just Lalamba.
But briefly, and then she pulled a disappearing act on us again. All right, we'll just scout around a bit and see what happens. Eh? When are you heading back?
I go to Landalos at midday today.
Fantastic. You must enjoy every moment of it.
Yes.
Super.
Yeah.
Right. Shot. It was Lisa, remember, from a few days ago, who had a ticket to Dream. I just had to say goodbye to her. She's heading off to another camp.
Hey everyone, my name is JP. I'm one of your WildEarth eco-training bushwalk guides. So for many years you've been watching WildEarth directly from your laptop or computer. However, now you can watch it directly from your connected TV, your Apple TV, or from your Roku box. And if you are like me, always busy, you can now download the WildEarth app and view it directly from your mobile phone.
Wildlife trafficking remains a growing problem in South Africa, and often made worse by the way the media portray this complex issue. The Wildlife and Environment Society of South Africa, WESA, have recently embarked on a program whereby they train reporters to better tell stories of wildlife trafficking.
In my community, wildlife conservation is mostly something other people do, and I would like to change that. My name is Iman Singli. I told people I met that the pangolin is one of the most trafficked animals on the planet. But what is a pangolin, they said? Why is it in danger? This is what made me decide that the pangolin story must be told. If we are to play a part in preventing the extinction of this animal, then we must all be part of the battle.
A partnership between WWF South Africa and WESA, supported by US Aid.
Hello, boy. You are a monster. And he's coming right up to us. Hello, boy. Oh, settle down. Settle down. He is very, very close. He's pushing his trunk against the car. You can feel the car moving. Hey, 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 hey. Stop that.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
It's a huge privilege to be in these incredible places with these amazing animals. I love filming lions. When they do get up and do something, it's always spectacular. When they are playing, are incredibly fun to watch, especially subalterns and cubs. I love being in the bush and working in these incredible places with these amazing animals. We want to bring it to you so that you can almost feel like you're right there and be able to experience it and enjoy it the way we are.
Other than the hippos and a couple of birds, there's some life around the waterhole here. Just spoke to that guide from Chitwa. Says it's rather quiet on their side at the moment. Not much happening. So what we'll do is once we move off from the waterhole, we'll just do a little bit of a scout around. Oh, there's some whistling ducks. I was way too quick to get on camera. David didn't even attempt. No, they were too quick. But you could have heard them there, didn't you? White-faced whistling ducks. I don't see any fish eagles here today. Hi, Davina. No, they look so similar. There's almost zero visible dimorphism between males and females in terms of sexual dimorphism. So even with a call, I'm not sure whether it's only the female or the male that calls, but I think all of them call. But yeah, it's near impossible just from appearance or call. Although, I'll just dig deeper into that. Morning, Jason. Yes, hippos, elephant, buffalo. Unless they're being attacked by something, but all of these very calming to watch. A lot of sounds around at the moment. I wonder if Jonty's found his leopard yet. He's still tracking. I should call him. Maybe we should find out. Let's see what Jonty's up to.
Chris, at the moment, we haven't seen a track for a while. So it's, in terms of tracking, it's not going too sharp. But we're just working all of these areas around where we last saw the tracks going into. Those Franklin's alarming is a good sign. I just heard some others sort of flash up like they got a fright. I was just telling you BK and saying how this is where a lot of the lodges where you do have these highly trained trackers, it helps so much because the tracker would get off and he'd start following the tracks, and you can be quite patient in doing that. And then we could go drive loops, you're kind of covering more area. But we're just going super slow. I want to check in, this sort of drainage line. This would be a great place for a leopard to drop into. There's another vehicle coming. I'm just going to chat to him. Which is the station approaching Treehouse Dam? Please respond. Did you say his name was Elijah earlier? Elijah coming for Jonty. Oh, it's fantastic when the radio communication is so swift. I just wanted to tell him that if he kept going a little bit further up, he'll see those tracks.
WildEarth station coming for us.
Elijah, if you go a little bit further west on that road you're on Savage's track, you'll see the tracks. You'll see where I turned around. I've just been working this year. I haven't seen any more tracks. Yeah, I want, because they've got a tracker on the car, so maybe he can get off and have a look. But I want to go down and check this road where it goes through the drainage line.
What?
Do you think you're a good tracker?
Nah. Yeah.
BK says no. But I think he's pretty sharp. While we're driving around, he's throwing out tracks on the ground here. You see, we might get lucky here, BK. If this leopard has come down into this drainage line, we might see where it crosses at the bottom here. But I tell you what, some leopards, it's almost like they know when you're tracking them, and they then literally turn into ninjas, and they just like vanish. Chris is still sitting at Chitwa Dam. You're going to head over and see if he's got what he's looking at while we keep scratching around here.
It seems like there's even a bit of banter between BK and Jonty, but I'm going to take BK's side. Yeah, I think it's just Jonty that can't track. Hippos have disappeared. I'll come up now. It reminds me of the mudwallow yesterday. This hippo is much better looking than Jonty though. By far. We find a leopard on Chitwa and rub a bit of mud into Jonty's face. How about that? Not seen Rolo, by the way. Hi, Missy. I'm not entirely sure, but my logic tells me only on land. I'm not sure whether sucking underwater would be possible, but because there might be breathing involved, so you know what, I actually don't know. But my logic tells me that I probably would do it mainly on land, or at least in shallow water where they can, stand and where the mum's teats would be exposed. That's something I need to research as well. So what I love about guiding is that, we do a lot of studies and you get to meet so many different people, and now with WildEarth as well, so many different questions at times, and it somewhat forces you to learn more, and that's the stimulating thing for me here is that you never stop learning. Right there, I've got a question that I've probably never had in my career, believe it or not, and it's such a valid question. And mean, if you got another guide that might have had this question before, you probably would have said, yes, they can suckle underwater. And I've just researched it in one of my reference books here, and it seems like they actually do suckle underwater. So there's the answer. Now I've learned something as well. So obviously they can create quite a good seal over the teat underwater as well. Well, keep those questions coming. I love it. You know, being a guide also comes with this, you know, a bit of a sense of, you know, humility in a way as well. As much as people come to Africa and they meet this guide and it seems like you're this encyclopedia of knowledge, and yes, we do extensive studies, but it's impossible to know everything, and therefore you need to be open to learn new things. And here's a perfect example of that. And sometimes the most simplest of things are overlooked. You know, you want to often broaden and deepen your knowledge, but sometimes you just need to focus on the simple things, I guess. Hi there, Kay. I'm gonna guess again, because I mean, obviously I've not done any fish studies here. This is obviously not within our jurisdiction, but just using the general area and the species that occur, there's a number. The most prevalent species would be catfish, or barbel, as we call them, the sharp-toothed catfish, which is its sort of more official name. There'll be a number of bream or tilapia species, very likely Mozambique tilapia, marsh tilapia probably, or called banded tilapia as well, red-breasted tilapia potentially. Then a few sort of smaller species that we refer to as barbs or barbers, which is small little carp-like species, native ones there. You probably could find some bulldogs in here, tiny little fish with this pronounced like forehead. Would be interesting to do a bit of a fish study though. The problem, fish studies are often relatively invasive because you'll need to cast nets and things like that. It is necessary if you are into research. Being an isolated water body, that's not part of a flowing river, you probably would find less species in here than like, let's say a sort of, permanent river system. But definitely catfish and some tilapia you would definitely find here. I'm sure there's some really big ones in here as well. Good snacks for old Boris and Vlad. Well, this is probably our last little segment here. We're going to probably continue. Let's see if there's not perhaps a leopard that wants to surprise us down here at Chitwa.
Nothing beats sitting around a campfire at night whilst on safari, listening to the calls of the wild and chatting to your guide. If you sign up to be a WildEarth explorer, then you can enjoy this from the comfort of your home. Imagine hearing bush stories from your favorite WildEarth guide and reliving their highs and lows of a life spent in the wild. Every month, WildEarth explorers will be treated to an exclusive fireside chat, special occasions, hot topics, and deep dives into the WildEarth characters.
Everything else is just welling up inside of you out in nature. You know, some people think I'm weird, but I have an absolute joy. I have a good time.
No, I enjoyed myself thoroughly today.
WildEarth explorers, it's in your nature. BirdLife South Africa, our country's only dedicated bird conservation organization. They have been very successful in a number of areas, including the conservation of more than 150,000 hectares of grasslands and estuary habitat, saving thousands of albatrosses in trawl and longline fishing, and training community bird guides as ambassadors for nature in rural areas. Celebrating their official 25th anniversary, they are sharing 25 of their top success stories across their social media platforms. BirdLife South Africa is currently striving towards the conservation of 132 bird species that are heading for extinction. If we conserve birds, we will protect other biodiversity and important habitats that provide clean water and clean air for humans. Their work is forever ongoing. People who love birds can become a member of BirdLife South Africa or make a donation towards a bird conservation project.
Guys, just watch what's happening. See, watch the elephants, watch the lions. See, the first ones to run are the cubs. Can you see them? They are right here. I'm not sure how scared you were, but I was quite nervous. But absolutely incredible.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Welcome back to Eco Training Pridelands. It seems to be an incredibly quiet morning out here. We've not seen a single animal. I wonder where they're all. So we decided to come to one of the other dams in the hope that there might be some animals coming in for a drink. One of the things that I did notice is a number of red-billed buffalo weavers that are nesting over here. And there's also a common miner or two that's trying to attempt to nest there as well. And generally we find that these common miners outcompete our indigenous nesting bird species for nest spaces as well as for food. However, these red-billed buffalo weavers are not taking any of their nonsense, and they're actually mobbing them every now and then and driving them away from the area. Hopefully they'll be successful in actually chasing these alien bird species away and securing that nesting site entirely for themselves. So, but meanwhile, if there's any of you that would love to ask us questions, we really would love to hear from you, as questions are definitely going to help us out on an incredibly quiet morning like we're experiencing over here at the moment. Good morning, Erica, and welcome to the show. And with regards to the question, which part of the animal kingdom I find the most interesting, I definitely love birds. That's definitely one of my favorites. However, I do enjoy small things in general. So anything such as frogs, insects, and as also some of the and reptiles are the things that I enjoy the most. I find the smaller components of an ecosystem way more fascinating, way more complex than just the larger components of an ecosystem. There's a point where you start guiding and you start learning about all the large animals first, and then from there on you start building your knowledge on birds, trees, and a number of other things. And as you grow as a guide, you start developing specific interests. And in a few years after I started guiding, that's where those specific interests for the smaller components actually started. We've got a grey heron that's just landed over here, as well as two blacksmith lapwings, which just came to land very close to him. This doesn't seem that they're very happy with him. I actually wonder if they might actually have a nest there that they were trying to mob him again. Those little wings actually have tiny little spurs on the end of a wing, and you can just see the spurs now extending from the wing. That's most likely wanted to use it as a weapon against that grey heron that's coming very close by to a nest or chicks that we might not be able to see at the moment. I'm just going to stay there a little bit longer and see whether it's there it goes again, and if there's any chicks or a nest there. The terrain is very uneven, so it makes it very tricky to actually see. I just love their eggs as well. Their eggs are so well camouflaged, and they're actually just laid directly onto the ground. They don't spend much energy in producing any form of nest other than to create a tiny little scrape on the soil surface. I'm just keeping on watching that heron. Well, the heron has now decided to go back to the edge of the water to actually go and hunt. I have seen herons in the past actually do take chicks from a number of different nesting species, and that's why they are so cautious of them. Good morning, Amber, and welcome to the show. They can't create serious damage to a large bird like a grey heron, but they're definitely going to try and push it away from their chicks. And what we will see when it comes to damage, what they can create with a spur is actually when there are males fighting for females. Then it becomes very effective, and it's also very effective as a weapon against most small little predators and deterring them away from the nest. But it's not the only strategy that they follow. One of the other strategies that they have is actually to pretend to have broken wings or limbs, and then they will distract the predator away from the chicks or the nest. Once it's a few meters away, then they will actually move back towards the nest, and hopefully by then that predator has normally lost interest in focusing on the chicks or the nest, or might have actually overseen the chicks and the nest itself. Waiting for some animals to come and have a drink at the dam. Let's go and see what Chris is up to.
Right, so we're back on that open area here at Chitwa, and unexpectedly quiet. I'm just going to do a bit of a loop, and then perhaps then head back to Djuma. And today I didn't bring my binoculars. I was worried about the rain, so I left my whole camera bag and like a bunch of swifts flying around and swallows, and I'm trying to ID them. There's definitely some wire-tailed swallows in between. I think it might be little swifts as well. But hundreds of them. Everywhere. You can just every now and then see everything, fly past. It's almost like flies, Very agile birds. Anyway, let's continue over the open area and see if there's not perhaps anything of interest. Yes, Stacy. Stacy wants to know if I consider myself as a birder. Yes, absolutely. You know, part of our guide training does involve the idea of birds, and it was never one of my strong points in my early days, other than the necessary birds that I had to learn. You know, when it comes to specialty birding, I only really started off later in my career. So there are many guides out there that are probably more specialized in birds. I'm a bit more of a general nature guide at the moment. But I am looking to improve my birding to a level where I can consider myself a specialist. Look, I'm not saying I don't know birds. You know, I've got a very good list, and I can probably identify the majority of the most common birds around here, even some of the rare ones. But I mean, yeah, there are some guides out there that are really, really specialists in birds. But yes, I do consider myself a birder. But you'll find that with most nature guides, and I'm talking general nature guides, professional nature guides like myself, where we focus on safari out here in this type of environment. You get specialist birding guides who only does birding trips, marine guides, you know, horseback guides, you know, etc., etc. And it seems like every guide's, you know, depending on the area in which they operate, you will have a bit of a speciality over and above the general, broader sort of guiding experience and knowledge that you have. Some guides are specialists, trackers, for instance. I mean, my wife, she's a very well-known and very, very experienced horseback guide. I've done a bit of that as well, but you've got JP at Pridelands. I mean, he's a very well-known birding guide. I mean, birding is somewhat one of his specialities. Very extensive knowledge. Well, on that note, let's head over to JP and see what he's up to.
Good morning and welcome back to Pridelands, and thank you very much for Chris for that beautiful compliment. It does take quite a lot of work, as well as a fair degree of a little bit of being obsessive compulsive and developing that, and then specialization. And yeah, I was very fortunate. I actually didn't know anything about birds when I started guiding, and I probably knew 17 birds by the time that I've actually passed and entered the industry. And then one day I was actually provided the opportunity to learn from a very good ringer. When ringers, they specialize in birds, so that you can actually track their migration paths and their ages and a number of other facts about those birds. And he actually took me to look at my first bird a month or two after I've actually met him. And my first bird that I've actually went to go and look at was a little blue heron, and that was probably bird number 18 on my list. And since then, it's actually grown to somewhere by 761 species that I now have seen for Southern Africa. I'm always looking for new birds, but it also, unfortunately, in the last year or two with COVID, it's been incredibly difficult to travel for me, and that's what has kept my numbers quite fairly down. And there's a number of places which I would like to go and visit, and those are Eastern Highlands in Zimbabwe, as well as Mozambique I would love to go and visit, and then the northern parts of Namibia. And those are roughly the only places where I can see some new birds, and then I will be able to top my listing to just over 800, which is my target for the moment. When it comes to birding, we also also find that there's different categories of birders and listers. And the first one is just a general bird watcher, a person that are quite happy to look at birds and their own garden. And birders, they're normally people that consider themselves to be a little bit more serious, and they will actually actively go out and look for birds. There's also a few other categories that follow that, and those are then listers. And listers love listing every single bird in every single province and region that they actually go and bird, as well as different countries. And then they've also got an overall life list as a world list as well. We find that most of those are quite compulsive, obsessive about those lists, and they'll maintain them, and they'll also become so obsessive about missing out on the opportunity of not adding another bird onto the list. And then we afterwards also get a number of other categories of birders. We also get what we call stringers. Those are guys that actually fabricate birds and then will tell everybody else about the wonderful bird that they've seen, and then ending up putting that bird onto their list while nobody else can find that specific bird when they go and look for it in that area. Some of the other categories of birders that we get up there, ornithologists, they're the scientists, they're the professional people. However, some birders and bird guides also like to call themselves ornithologists. Bird guides we generally classify as a guy that's out there pulling his hair out, trying to find birds for his guest, and sometimes to the frustration of not getting those, or attempting to try and point them out to people. It's fun to actually lead birding safaris. Actually, it's one of my favorite things to do, and it's always nice to see different locations. It also keeps you fresh if you move from one area to the next area on tour, as well as you become quite familiar with those specific areas and eventually knowing precisely where to go and find every single bird that you are looking for. However, you can never guarantee anything when it comes to finding birds. Some of the other things that I find great about birding is that you actually take more time in specific areas to go and look for birds, and at the same time you're actually finding more animals than you would find normally on a normal safari. But it also teaches you a lot about specific habitats, because birds are so often only found in specific habitats, and you need to know the ins and outs of each and every one of those habitats to understand where you are going to find them. We're going to hang around a little bit longer over here and see what happens at our dam.
Yeah, Tingana. That's my boy.
It couldn't be a better morning. This is just too special.
Wow, what a way to start off.
Bright colors, and it attracts the insect to the flower, which is exactly what we're watching right now. This is so exciting. There's two. Hello, Mama. It's all good. Hi. Hi.
The smallest baby black-backed jackal I have seen in the wild. Look how full the belly is.
It is so incredible to spend this time so close to an African penguin. They just make me feel alive.
That is incredibly sweet. Grooming each other.
Play is vital. This is how they learn. This is how they would tackle prey.
There you go, there you go. There you go, there you go. Heart is pumping right now.
Look at this, everybody. We've got a live kill. There's nowhere to go.
It's just such an incredible privilege to be out here. It just keeps on delivering.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, live.
There she goes, going for the youngster. She got it.
That's what I'm talking about.
Look at that.
This is insanely good footage.
Okay, a signal gremlin. And there's been two developments that are quite frustrating. So BK and I decided, we were like, no, that leopard's, those male leopard tracks we're following, we're like, no, that leopard's playing games with us. So we left there to come up. A vehicle found Tundi and Mareeps. We rushed up here in time to see their tails disappearing where we can't follow. This road, wet still, eh? And then another vehicle drove in Philemon's dip, and the male leopard tracks that we were following came out and walked on top of our tracks. So we were right there by that thing. So we're going to go. So that Franklin that we heard alarming earlier, it did exactly what we thought. It saw the leopard, flushed up, flew away a little bit, and then forward on the right. So now at least we know that if we get just behind it, so we just going to, if we get there, we're sort of just behind it. We just going to check Buffels Hook directly, see if there's anything on, and see if we can. While we do that, you can head out to Chris.
Welcome back to Eco Training Pridelands. We're still in the Lovo Dam and seeing what we can find. And our giraffe is coming closer and closer at the moment, and hopefully they'll start popping out from behind the bushes. I still find it amazing that such a tall animal can be concealed so easily between the vegetation. There's at least 8 of them that I can count as I scan my binoculars and focus in onto that area. I just find it absolutely amazing how those blotches and patterns assist them and actually blending in with the environment. And we also find that it doesn't only have a function of actually concealing them from potential predators and breaking up their shape, it also has a function of actually regulating their body temperature. Some of the other ways that they can also regulate their body temperature is because they've got incredibly long legs and necks, which also assist with them keeping cool. And it's actually one of the animals that can actually withstand quite a lot of heat. And generally we can see them active throughout the day. Also amazes me that they also with elephants, they can pretty much tolerate a large amount of heat and continue moving, while most other species have to actually become inactive. It does make perfect sense. If you are a large animal that needs to almost eat for 21 hours of a day, such as the giraffe as well as elephant, you don't have much of a choice of actually retreating during the peak heat periods of that day. And some of our giraffes now coming into the open. I also love the way that they walk. If you do notice, you'll see that they will take their right and front and back, followed by the left front and back that moves through. Good morning, Lucy, and welcome to the show. A very good question that you have there. Why are some individuals darker than others? So there's a few interesting things that we can look at, and generally we will find that males tend to be darker than that females are. And then we also find that different age groups, the older the giraffe is, generally the darker it will be. But then also genetics comes into play, and sometimes you do find individuals which has a double recessive gene. And up till date, the darkest giraffe I've actually ever seen is actually a female. It was almost black in color. And that's in the case due to the double recessive gene from both parents. While we're watching our giraffes, I'm hoping that they're going to come down here and come and have a drink very soon. I just love watching giraffes drink. But meanwhile, let's go and see what Chris is up to.
I think we should hit the hyena den site. Oh, so JP's also got a few giraffe there. Nice. We think we should head back to a... It might not be a bad idea to just go and see if we can have one last little view of those very sweet, adorable little cubs. Marie asked if there's an animal that I want to see that I've never seen. Anna Marie is a number of them. I've got a list that long. But if I have to pick one, I would say a jaguar. That's like something I really, really, really want to see. And I've just stopped here because there's a very big drainage and we will definitely lose signal there. Yeah, and it's a bit of a story. I've got a friend that's from Brazil, and he's invited me over there for a bit of a nature trip to come and see what they've got there. And obviously that would include going to parts of the fringes of the Amazon. And obviously with this last year and a half, 2 years, I mean, I need to go into why I couldn't go. Hopefully as things eventually stabilize, I might try and get up there and down there and hopefully get to see my jaguar. But that's not the only animal. I mean, there's so many creatures out there, even in other parts of Africa, that I really want to see. Forest elephants, forest buffalo, mountain nyala, Ethiopian wolves. No, that's just too many of them. The list is very long. There's an oriole shouting somewhere here. All right, so we're going to head over to JP at his waterhole. I'm going to try and cross the Mulwati. I'm almost certainly going to lose signal, but we'll be back shortly.
Welcome back to Eco Training Pridelands. And when it comes to animals that I would love to go and see, it is definitely a striped weasel. And a few years ago, I was actually mountain biking up in the Highveld region of South Africa, and I was actually fortunate that I did see a striped weasel because I saw black and white bands of movement through the shrubs. I then got off my bike to go and actually have a look, and then the next moment, it was actually not a striped weasel, but white bands from a snake that's known as a rinkels. And as it was very close to me, it actually struck at me. And I then jumped up, and I still don't know how I managed to frog leap almost 3 meters in distance. And that was a very good wake-up call, but everything that is black and white with bands on it, essentially a striped weasel. There's also a very similar looking I've seen, but there's a close relative to the striped weasel, a polecat. And both of these animals are quite well known to use chemicals as a defense mechanism. In the case of a striped polecat, it sprays urine at whatever comes close by to it, a protective measure. Some of the other animal species that I would love is definitely orca. There's several times that I've actually went to go and look for them, and once I was supposed to be out on a whale cruise to go and look for whales that morning, and also for the possibilities of orca. Unfortunately, I had other commitments that very soon kicked in as one of my colleagues went that morning, and I had to go and work. I actually missed out on a very unique opportunity that morning, as one of the orcas that they did find actually was being harassed by a great white shark, and that she had a calf with her. She simply decided that she's going to snap this great white shark in half. We also quite often in recent years find that great white sharks have actually been the victims of orcas, especially on the south Western Cape coast, and they actually just simply go for the liver of the sharks and discard the rest of the body, which they won't eat. As for me, it's probably one of the smartest dolphins on the planet. And also what I do like about orcas is that they also have got such a wide distribution range. And the fun fact about that is that after humans, they've got the widest distribution range of any mammal species on the planet. I can remember a few years ago as well, we were actually looking for birds on Shetland Islands, which is the most northern group of islands in the UK. We were on an island called Hermanus, and Shetland consists of mainly 4 islands. And at that moment, there was a report of orcas coming through. That was the second closest that I've actually ever got to seeing them. And I had to rush all the way down to Sombra Head, which is in the southern tip of the Shetland Isles. Unfortunately, by the time that we got there, the orcas has moved off. But one day, hopefully we'll be able to still see them. When it comes to other mammal species I would like to see, there's quite a few species in West Africa that I would love to see. Okapi, which is a close relative to the giraffe, as well as the red river hog, which is one of the pig species which you find there. That's definitely one of my target species. In the meanwhile, let's go and see what the rest of the team is up to.
Christmas is coming, the geese are getting fat, the babies are awakening, and it's time for a fireside chat. The reindeers prepare for a global bumble. At Christmas time, they are the kings of the jungle. The chicks are all nestled and snug in their nest. Join us at the fire with a very special guest. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer and join in the fun. For those of you who love to join us on safari here on WildEarth, we have some news.
This is incredibly exciting.
The team have trawled through the archives and found the very best of Safari Live from over the years.
Come and disperse the...
With locations such as the Masai Mara in Kenya.
You can see how close he is from where I am.
Tswalu in the Kalahari.
It is absolutely incredible.
And of course, Pinda and Ngala, right here on our doorstep.
Listen.
We have hours of great entertainment that is now playing on our channel. Catch up with guides from the past, and of course your favorite animal characters.
It's happening. I've never seen this before.
The best of Safari Live will be broadcast on WildEarth Channel daily, so jump on board and join us down memory lane. Times for this brand new series are on our website.
Guys, have a look at what we've got.
This is better than my birthday. Look at that. This is the first time that I ever see cubs this small. This is so special. This has officially just become my best sighting of all times.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
Hi, I'm Mike Anderson, and I come to you live every day from Eco Training Pridelands Conservancy in South Africa. The wild animal I think is most underrated. I think buffaloes are the most underrated. They're so tenacious and ferocious, and also very, very protective of each other, which I find incredible. You know, sometimes people think of the big five, they just think of lions and leopards and other big animals, but I think buffaloes are pretty underrated.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
Welcome back, everybody. So we just drove past. We didn't go to the den by Tlalamba's den site, but we just drove past on the road there just to see if there were any tracks of her coming back in. We couldn't see anything, but there's a lot of water in that area. I wonder if there's actually water in that drainage line. I hope those little cublets stay dry. So we're just going back down towards Philemon's Dip. I just want to check. That's where these guys said the tracks were on top of ours, but we actually didn't drive Philemon's Dip. So the plot thickens for those male leopard tracks, because when we were driving up Cheetah Cutline, there were tracks of a big male leopard. They went up and then went into Torchwood. So maybe we weren't as close as we thought to that leopard this morning. But we're going back that way. We want to just double check and make sure. While we keep making our way down there, JP's got some visitors at the watering hole.
Welcome back to Eco Training Pridelands. Patience has eventually paid off, and it's almost like a magic moment of both giraffes, zebras, and a lot of buffalo that is making their way in down towards the waterhole. So a lot of the buffalo are incredibly playful this morning. We're seeing that they're chasing one another around and then running around in circles. And it seems to be more of a younger individual group that is displaying this behavior. Well, the older, more mature individuals, they're a little bit more relaxed, going straight towards the water. Hopefully a few of these guys will also be entering the water and start wallowing very soon. I'm really hoping now just that we can get some elephants to come and join them as well. Instead of us just talking about all the animals and giving you a lot of facts, let's just see what they get up to and listen to the different sounds of nature in the meanwhile. We're going to hang around here a little bit longer and see what all the animals are getting up to. Let's go and see what Jonty is up to.
Good luck there, JP. So I was just thinking about what the other guys talk about, things they'd like to see. An okapi would be cool. I'd love to see a bongo. One, just because it's got the best name ever. A bongo. A hedgehog's always on my list in the wild. I'd like to see the forest elephants and forest buffalo. Jaguar right up there. I'd love to go. I've seen a tiger, but I'd love to go see them again. Black buck. The dhole, the Indian version of the wild dog. Sloth bear, sun bear. There's so many animals. orcas. Yo. The sea for me is a very much underexplored option that I need to do more of. But something that I'm super excited about coming up in the end of February, beginning of March with Mel C. I don't know if you're watching Mel, but help. We're going to go and do a trip into Kenya, into Laikipia, to go and look for... They've been having some sightings of melanistic or black leopards. So that is super exciting. I said to Mel, if we see one, I might just donate my eyes to science, because then I've seen enough. Jeepers, that thing looks beautiful. I've seen them before in, you know, in captive situations, but that's definitely not the same. To see one in the wild, I think that'd be mind-blowing. What about you, BK? What's on your list of things you'd love to see?
At the top would be gorillas.
Oh, I didn't even mention gorillas. Yeah, BK, gorillas. For me, gorillas and chimps.
Yeah.
Golden monkeys. Hopefully next year, I'm going to be doing some trips with gorillas and chimps. So I'll be able to keep you posted on those. Yeah, that's a good one, eh? A gorilla. And I'd like to see a mandrill, Ethiopian wolves, those Highland Galada baboons up in Ethiopia. Too good. Just these hippos have been walking everywhere. We were thinking about going to check for the young spotted eagle owl as well. I know it hasn't been seen for probably 2 weeks now. We thought maybe we would go and have a poke around in there and just have a proper look. Maybe it's just been hidden. While checking along these drainage lines, head over to Chris and have a look and see what he did. Should we take Nyala Road south?
Nothing to point. I'm so jealous of Jonty's trip to Kenya. I've never been to Kenya. I've been to Tanzania, but maybe I'll be able to organize a little trip there at some stage. Well, while I was sort of tagging along, I just had to pick this. As you know, I like bush food. And this is a little treat if you're out in the bush, whether you're out on survival or just on safari. They're not fully ripe yet, but this is the white berry bush. I mean, it's so easy to see why it's called a white berry bush. You can see the little berry still has a bit of a green tinge to this. And they are edible and quite tasty. It's got this little bit of a initial sweetness followed by a bit of tannin from the seeds, a bit of bitterness. Almost reminds you of biting a grape seed. Quite bitter, but in a pleasant way. Lots of vitamins, quite a bit of sugar in there, especially when they're ripe. So they're not fully ripe yet. But if you're ever out here in summer in Africa, as you go along, especially on a bushwalk, I tend to walk around and just sort of like bush popcorn in a way. Very tasty. Just one of the fruits that, and the baboons and monkeys absolutely love them. And makes a pretty garden plant as well. And they grow very well from seeds. And very little maintenance as well. So if you want to, especially if you're out in South Africa, want to plant something in your garden, why not plant something from South Africa rather than some exotic plant and have the white berry bush, and you can have some berries. I don't know if you can make wine with them. I'm sure. Might give it a try in late summer when they're ripe. Hi there, Annika. Brightly colored berries, yes. As a rule of thumb, you don't know. There's a lot of berries out here, and we don't have a distinct season, you know. Although, I mean, there's several edible berries like this. The poison apple, I mean, I had it a while back, just a flower at the moment, that big purple flower that resembles a potato plant's flower, they're related. They, being related to tomatoes as well, they sort of create this very yellow tomato-like fruit. Now that's quite toxic. You don't eat that. But then again, there's so many berries out here. The marulas is not necessarily a berry, it's in the mangosteen family. We all know about the marulas. But then you get also, you'll find the raisin bushes. Not brightly colored, but they've got this sort of brown reddish color to them. Very sweet when they're ripe. Very nice to eat. Then the brown ivory, one of my favorite berries out here. Bright yellow berries. Sort of like a very sort of sharp and oval shape, almost like a rugby ball, like a tiny little rugby ball. Very sweet, and they are yellow. And in fact, they've got a bit of a latex as well. In some parts here, you have the low-felt milkberry, also lovely to eat, bright-colored, with a milky latex, and that's something you tend to avoid. So, if you know the plant, it's different. And like we've studied this, and you know, but if you don't know, I would rather avoid bright berries.
Do you dream of traveling to a far-flung wilderness location where life continues as normal? A place where you can escape to nature and breathe. If you become a WildEarth explorer, then this could soon become a reality. Subscribe today and stand a chance to win regular travel prizes. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
The little one is up and about. Certainly hasn't had enough milk at this age. No amount of milk is enough. Oh, Corky. Too sweet. Oh, look at this. That is stunning.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
My name is Lauren, and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me, and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
My name is David, and I love being a cam op because you get a front row seat to all the best sightings that WildEarth has to offer. Sharing it with everyone else, well, that's a perk too. What makes the WildEarth experience magical? Well, it has to be the fact that it's live and interactive. The sighting that'll be ingrained in my brain for life, watching a lioness kill 3 wildebeest during the migration in the space of about 20 minutes. My spirit animal, that has to be a monkey.
Welcome back to Eco Training Pridelands. We're still at Ndlovu Dam and we're having a lot of fun this morning. We've now got a few hundred buffalo over here, a number of giraffe, as well as zebra, and a few warthogs with us. Buffalo are incredibly playful this morning. We also noticed that they were chasing the Egyptian geese, which was something I've never personally seen before. We also had a little bit of a giggle at one of the two of the buffaloes. They were actually two males that were busy fighting, and as part of a dominance display, the one was trying to the one that moved, the one that was leading away, climbed over a log. The other one tripped and rolled over the log as he was trying to mount him at the same time. There's also a lot of play with the young little calves that are carting up and down. It's quite interesting to see. I wonder what position. It's the weather. I hope that they're going to stay a little bit longer, as it seems as some of the individuals are now starting to move off. With the cooler weather, they'll probably still continue feeding for quite a bit longer this morning. We do see that they will actually retreat in the heat of the day and go and rest up. And a lot of their feeding is actually also taking place at night time. It's also quite interesting to see that in dry here, a large number of animals tend to also eat at night when there's a moisture levels on the grass is higher.
Just telling David, I want to go and check out an area. Yesterday we had a tawny eagle and a battalion in the same spot, and yesterday it was a bit wet. We couldn't really get in there, or we sort of erred on the cautious side, so we didn't want to go in. And often when you have two birds like that together, they're both species that potentially can sniff out a carcass that a leopard has hoisted in a tree or perhaps under a bush, whereas vultures won't. They won't be able to see it. They look from above, where both battalion tawny eagle does a lot of low-level flight at times, and they can often detect carcasses. I don't go past them. Those two birds are still there. Might be worth investigating. It was actually on Rebecca's Road, and we did speak about it yesterday, myself and Craig, that we're nearly convinced there's a leopard down there. Might be nothing, might be gone. And it is relatively close to where Tlalamba was seen yesterday by John G. So, hey, it's worth a look. Morning, Sir 50, and Sir 50 wants to know what's been the most unique bird sighting that I've had. Okay. Let me just quickly try and retrieve some memories here. Tell you what my most unique sighting was. This is the first time I've seen a peregrine falcon in Kruger. We are a bunch of guides doing some training with a well-known mentor trainer in the industry, and sort of like on-the-go type of training, and we were just driving around and working on a few new concepts that we can employ in modern guiding and so forth. And we were watching a flock of wattled starlings. We were chatting about it, and how can we use this now as a tool in guiding, instead of just pointing out the bird, what ways are we going to try and incorporate it and make it not only more interesting for guests, but how to bring it out and make it alive. And at that moment, we just saw this puff of feathers exploding in mid-air, and it was a peregrine falcon that smacked one of those starlings right in front of us. And to top that, it literally went to the very next tree close to us and started eating the starling. So we looked at it, we obviously thought, okay, that must be either a peregrine or lanner falcon, the way it went for that bird. And as we picked up our binoculars, there it was. So that is not only my first peregrine falcon I've seen, but to see it killing a bird in that very classic manner, like swooping all the way from the top, and that speed at which it hit that starling must. I mean, it sounded like a fire, firework almost exploding. Like it had that just sort of like crack to it. You could hear, and just had this feather puff. Incredibly fast when they dive and hunt other birds mid-air. That's definitely one of my best and unique sightings, I would say. There, Peter wants to know if birds ever mimic other birds. Yes, indeed. There are a lot of species of birds that mimic. The most well-known here in this region, probably the fork-tailed drongo. Very well-known mimic. I mean, there's other birds, sabota larks, they mimic. Some of the robins and chats mimic. Can't name them all now, but yes, it's a very, very common thing in some species. I mean, look at parrots who mimics us. When they called speech, they mimic, but they don't really speak, they mimic us. Miners, common miners, very good mimics, even mimic cell phone ringtones. I saw this fork-tailed drongo the other day mimicking a squirrel sound. That sort of whistle. For instance, not only other birds, and the other day another drongo was mimicking the pill-spotted owlet. He's trying to lure it out to mob it. In fact, the day I saw the squirrel mimicking, after the drongo mimicking a squirrel, there was a leopard moving through the bush, and this drongo was sitting there mimicking a squirrel when it saw the leopard. Then when I just observed previously that when the leopard's moving, the squirrels do that sort of alarm call. And I thought, all right, when I see a leopard, I can probably do the same. This is one of those things that you can just put a theory to it. You can't really come up with like a concrete sort of answer. Looks like some relatively fresh elephant activity here. Some fresh dung on the road, fresh leaves. So keep a lookout. We might just see them. Let's look for those ellies. Maybe.
If I could take you on safari all day and all night, I would. But unfortunately, it's not always the best time to see the animals. Now, in between safaris, you can watch the WildEarth Channel with loads of extra shows. If you have a connected television, Apple TV or Roku box, then download the WildEarth app, and if not, then just find it on the App Store on your phone.
Cape Nature is the chief custodian of the Western Cape of South Africa's natural environment. This highly successful organization strives to conserve the province's natural heritage to ensure a sustainable future. Besides nurturing nature, Cape Nature offers an authentic ecotourism experience to local and international visitors. And one of these experiences is walking amongst the penguins at Stony Point, or as we know it, Penguin Beach. WildEarth broadcasts live from here every day and is very privileged to be partnered with Cape Nature, who have focused their conservation efforts here. If you want to visit these iconic black and white African penguins for yourself, then head over to our website to find out more. Cape Nature. Conserve, explore, experience.
This warthog is in big trouble. He's got elephants all around. What are you going to do there, big guy? What are you going to do? Oh, he's pretty brave though. Oh man, he's not even moving. Look, that elephant is trying his best, but that warthog ain't budging. That's madness. That's so funny. And we have a winner. The warthog wins the standoff.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
My favorite animal is a leopard, purely because I just think they are just the epitome of feline grace and power, and the way they can move about in any environment and remain hidden until they want to be seen, I just find incredibly intoxicating, and they're amazingly beautiful.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
Welcome back to Eco Training Pridelands. Buffalo has moved off, except for a few individuals which are still wallowing, busy cooling themselves down and getting their coats covered with mud so that they can create a protective layer around their coats, which protects them against biting flies, but also as that dries off, we're seeing that they will gently go and rub themselves against a tree until ticks falling off with the mud fat slowly hardening. For some reason, buffalo do carry quite a lot of ticks. That's also very important to manage the amount of ticks on your coat. And one of the things that they manage is with oxpeckers, removing those from them. And meanwhile, let's go and see what Chris is up to.
Some buffalo there with JP. That's very cool. I haven't seen buffalo in some time yet. I've not been active around Djuma for quite some time. It will change. It's not a permanent thing. Maybe not while I'm here though, and I've got very much just one game drive left on this shift. I'm going to really try and make the best of that drive. Really, it's going to be epic. I mean, we had a lovely drive this morning. I'm very happy. Those hyenas were really something. Would be nice to just part with a nice memory like a leopard or something. But if not, you know, I'm sure I'll be back sometime. Don't know when. Kutune, want to know if it's possible for Corky and Ribbon to form two different clans. Yeah, I'm sure it is possible. I've seen clans split up. And that is usually when a clan reaches a certain capacity in terms of numbers that, where the prey community is of such a nature when the clan gets too big, and we see lions do this as well sometimes, where some of the members do split off and start their own clans, almost like sub-clans, and then develop the size and become full-fledged clans eventually. It is possible. Whether that will happen is near impossible to predict. Whether it's a likely scenario, I also can't say. We just touched on it this morning. You could probably bring the world's top hyena behavioralists and people will still not be able to predict or figure out what's happening here without long-term observations. So we'll need some more time with these hyenas. So hopefully tests will probably continue with the hyenas in my absence, and I will share most of my experiences with them, with her when she comes in today. We do a bit of a handover when we have a shift change, so the nice thing is we've got a lot of video material to our disposal. We can watch the repeats. So during the run-up of your shift, that's what I do. I try and watch the show as much as I can, and it'll give you a good idea of what's happened in that week or so preceding your arrival here. But yeah, we'll continue to observe and see what's in. I'm going to keep watching. I'll be watching you from the Cape. I might even sneak in a few nasty comments. Jonty's not guiding, so I won't do any nasty comments then. I'll wait until Jonty's back and I'll sneak in a few funny comments. Talking about the devil, let's head over to Jonty.
Oh, thanks, Chris. You can also just message me if you want to chat to me. I'll happily respond. Okay, we checked that area where those owls have been hanging out, but no sign. I don't know. Does anybody who's watching know exactly how old they think that chick was? Because I know a lot of the chicks, like, I think it's somewhere around 30 days, 30 or 35 days, if it's a ground nest. The chick will often move out of the nest then and start hopping around. And sort of by like 4 months old, they out and about properly. They like leave the whole nest. Maybe that explains why we haven't seen anything for a while. We just coming back for, like, to be sure sake. The Beak and I have been talking, we think those male leopard tracks that we saw this morning, even though we thought we were close, we're just trying to match up the distance those other male leopard tracks we saw on Cheetah Cutline. It could well be the same male. That's quite possible that they would walk that far in a night. I just want to check if the guy who called this in, because there's a dip close to Philemon's Cutline, and then there's Philemon's Dip, the road. So we just want to make sure which one he called them in on. And then we shall see what the tracks tell us. Magda, they do. I've seen more hyenas, More often I've seen hyenas feeding on dead leopards and dead lions. I've seen a leopard fed a little bit on a dead lion, kind of just nibbled a bit and then continued. And I've seen a leopard eat a hyena that lions had killed. And I've seen leopards eating other leopards, which also always looks a bit grim. In fact, very grim. So this is where he thinks he saw that, huh? Let's check. Let's check. I'm just going to go slowly through this dip. This is where the other vehicles called in those tracks. He said right in the bottom of the dip itself, and we didn't drive this way this morning. So when he said they're on top of our vehicle tracks, we got super excited. There's hyena tracks. Here's one here. There's one there. Those, do they carry on your side, BK? Yeah. Yeah, I think this leopard walked here before. Okay, let's go along this road, yeah. So they did indeed cross. So it's quite likely then that that male just booked it straight through onto the cut line and probably doing a territorial patrol after the rain. Remember yesterday morning we were saying after the rain they want to wait for the sun to come out again and dry everything. They were a bit unlucky that it rained again this morning because that will wash away a bit of the scent. So we'll probably have to do another big patrol. Stuart, not for a prolonged period. I've seen like cubs when they start getting quite confident, they might follow the car a little bit. We used to have some instances where they would actually follow you. So if you would go tracking them, and then the tracker would just say, okay, cool, I can see the leopard, it's watching us. And then you start walking back to the vehicle and you just look behind you, and like 20, 30 meters behind you just see this little, oh, I say little, but it'd be like a 1-year-old cub, some between 1 and 2, sort of following you back to the car. And you get back to the car and the guests say, did you find them? And you're like, oh, look, it's going to come now. And then you just see it poke its head around the corner. And sometimes lions will, especially sub-adults, sometimes they follow the cars a little bit. The males sometimes even chase the car. You've got to stop that behavior pretty quickly. Oh, they're going to need to come and move that tree fairly soon, one would hope. Yeah, but it is always grim when you see like these predators eating another predator. I don't know, it's like not just seems wrong. Yeah, one of the bizarre sighting we had, we found a female leopard dead in a tree, and we had been tracking. It looked like there were tracks of a male and a female that had been mating along the road. Then the tracks went off of the road, and then we saw a big drag mark coming across the road, and we followed it, I don't know, 60, 70 meters. And we were like scratching, looking, thinking, where's these things? And then the monkey started alarming, but like right above us. And we looked up in the tree, and there was this, we just saw a leopard, and we thought, whoa! And we went back, but had a little look from a distance, and we could see it. The way she was lying didn't look very comfortable. We had a closer look with binoculars, and we could see that she was dead. And so we figured out that they had been mating and then the male killed her. And this was a very old female leopard. The theory is that sometimes these old males will kill the old females in the view that once they're out, it brings in younger females so that they can keep breeding. Because the females will get to an age where they're probably not going to be successful at breeding, or at least falling pregnant. And so then the male leopard who we presume killed her, he came back later and fed on her a little bit, and then he left. And then the next day we went back to check, and a different male leopard was there feeding on her as well. It was bizarre, a very bizarre scene. I'm trying to think, there's a guy, Don Heineke, he's got a picture that he took at Marthley with a male leopard. I can't remember which individuals, but he's killed a younger leopard and he's busy dragging it. It's an amazing picture, but grim.
Christmas is coming, the geese are getting fat, the babies are awakening, and it's time for a fireside chat. The reindeers prepare for a global bumble. At Christmas time, they are the kings of the jungle. The chicks are all nestled and snug in their nest. Join us at the fire with a very special guest. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer and join in the fun. Wildlife trafficking remains a growing problem in South Africa, and often made worse by the way the media portray this complex issue. The Wildlife and Environment Society of South Africa, WESA, have recently embarked on a program whereby they train reporters to better tell stories of wildlife trafficking.
In my community, wildlife conservation is mostly something other people do, and I would like to change that. My name is Iman Singli. I told people I met that the pangolin is one of the most trafficked animals on the planet. But what is a pangolin, they said? Why is it in danger? This is what made me decide that the pangolin story must be told. If we are to play a part in preventing the extinction of this animal, then we must all be part of the battle.
A partnership between WWF South Africa and WESA, supported by US Aid.
This is incredible. Looks like vivid monkeys do sometimes go for swims. I heard something splash, but we couldn't see what it was in the long grass. Now I just saw that thing swimming there. This is incredible. I hope it gets to the bank. There are crocodiles in this dam. And it looks like, see that monkey climb up into the tree? Wow.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth Daily.
I am an outdoor photographer, a wildlife filmmaker, and a conservation storyteller. Penguin Beach is going to offer us this really unique opportunity to watch and pick up on the smallest of details in the penguins' lives. It's going to allow us the time to really get to know these penguins well, get to know their story, and get to interpret the little finer details and share that with you with a live TV show and get you to fall in love with penguins.
This morning is slowly but surely getting close to an end. Still got some time left, but that's heading there. And now we're just literally cruising around and enjoying, soaking it up one last time for a morning. Got a big crew change coming up today. Yeah, even though I'm gonna love my time down in the Cape, I love going there. It's one of my little go-to places in terms of holiday. I am going to miss the bush. I will be back soon. Don't know when, but you know, I live in the bush practically, but definitely miss this part of the Sabi Sand. It's a really, really awesome little piece of land here. Grown very fond of it. Nice thing is I can always tune into WildEarth if the withdrawal symptoms becomes too much to handle. Just see what it looks like from the other side. I'm going to go check out the quarantine if there's not anything happening there. Jonty's at Djuma Dam. Let's see what's happening there.
Aha, Chris, well played. He's scratching around for breakfast. That's what he's doing on quarantine. We're just sitting here with the hippo. There's two Nyala on the far side of the dam. We are spoilt when we do leave WildEarth. Obviously the bush, we do miss it, but living in a small little town like Hoedspruit, it's always got that little bush feel with warthogs running around the shopping centre and around the main street. One of my friends, was it last year? Jeez, I don't know, last year was such a write-off, but potentially a year ago he was riding on a motorbike just outside of town and he saw wild dogs sort of harassing something, and so he wanted to have a look, so he took his motorbike off-road and he like putted around and he couldn't see, and they were around these rocks, and so he actually got off and the dogs ran away. And he walked up and looked into the pile of rocks because he thought maybe they were harassing a python. And in the crevice in the rock were 4 tiny leopard cubs. I mean, this is like a few kilometers from town on a main road. And what was the most ridiculous thing was, one, that there were 4 leopard cubs. I don't even know if I've ever heard of that before. And he went, fetched his girlfriend, brought her and showed her as well, and then they left it alone. And then someone, like a week later, saw the mom actually moving the cubs across the road into an area called Baluli, which is a protected area. So obviously when we do leave, we do miss the bush, but Hoedspruit's not a bad place, not a bad substitute to hang out. I wonder if we should check Gallagher Pan. BK thinks that's a good idea as well. We'll sit here for another minute or two and then we'll do a loop around and go check Gallagher Pan. You never know, maybe there'll be a little treat there. I'm just looking carefully along this dead log, this dead tree that's here, where we often see those monitor lizards sort of sunning themselves, but the weather's not great for that at the moment.
When on safari, there's nothing better than an evening spent under the stars chatting around a fire, with the sounds of the wild all around you. If you sign up to be a WildEarth explorer, you can build your own memories by joining our guides for regular fireside chats. Subscription payments can be made by PayPal, credit card, and now bank transfer. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature. BirdLife South Africa, our country's only dedicated bird conservation organization. They have been very successful in a number of areas, including the conservation of more than 150,000 hectares of grasslands and estuary habitat, saving thousands of albatrosses in trawl and longline fishing, and training community bird guides as ambassadors for nature in rural areas. Celebrating their official 25th anniversary, they are sharing 25 of their top success stories across their social media platforms. BirdLife South Africa is currently striving towards the conservation of 132 bird species that are heading for extinction. If we conserve birds, we will protect other biodiversity and important habitats that provide clean water and clean air for humans. Their work is forever ongoing. People who love birds can become a member of BirdLife South Africa or make a donation towards a bird conservation project.
Our bodies are made up of about 60% water, which means that in a very short space of time, you can dehydrate completely. A relatively efficient way of collecting water early in the morning is to take an absorbent material like a sock and to walk through the grass, absorbing the condensed dewdrops on the grass. Once the material is saturated, you can then squeeze it out into a container, or you can suck it out directly into your mouth.
The bushwalk feed allows the camera person some creative license. This is my favorite style of shooting. You have to be mentally and physically prepared. You're shooting handheld in some very strange and contorted positions, always with a straight back, often in the squat position, low to the ground. The creativity comes down to the relationship and sync you have with your presenter. The more you understand each other, the more you'll be able to tell the story seamlessly.
Oh, look at this. We can't drive past this. There's like a smorgasbord of wildlife here. Oh, is that pole right in the way? Let me... There's a group of Inyala here. Oh, and the dike is moving. There's also a dike on the other side. Let me go forward. That one might be a bit better. BK at the back there. Through that gap. Such beautiful antelope. You can hear the oxpeckers chirping in there. Do you know what I actually haven't seen for a while? Is a bushbuck. Looks very similar to Inyala, but smaller. But also part of the spiraled horn antelope. I do love a bushbuck. So can you believe it? That size Inyala that's on the screen. At Pinder we saw, or we found a python swallowing one. Craig, there's been a few instances where predators have been a little bit curious. I know in East Africa they have those scenes where cheetahs jump onto the cars, but they're not open game viewers, they've closed and they sort of climb onto the roof to use it as a vantage point. I've heard of a lion sort of sniffing in the footwell of the driver's seat. There was a video that surfaced from somewhere in Botswana where a leopard sort of jumped with its paws onto the side of the car and was sniffing, but no, that was also a bit dumb because the guy had his foot right there and was filming the leopard smelling his foot, and then it actually got curious, you know, and it didn't bite his foot out of like aggression, it just almost wanted to pull the shoe off, and that was when they decided it was a good time to move away. So you never really want them to become familiar with the car. You want them to be familiar enough with the car that they'll allow us to drive in and view them. But you always want them to not become that comfortable with the car that they want to now jump onto it, because I got to tell you, having 6 people in the back of the car with a leopard or lion jumping into it is not a scenario I really want to deal with. And the thing is, because of the way humans operate, any of these situations where there is a contact with the car, it's the animal that ends up being put down, which I think is a bit offsides if it's been the humans who've the ones behaving like wingnuts. I think we'll continue past. I want to check that pan before we finish. Maybe there's a leopard lying up by the water. Thank you, Inyala. Have a good day further. Thank you. There was actually a video recently in the last week of a leopard reaching out from, it's standing on like a pushed over tree, and the car's right there, but I'm presuming he was there first and then they went up onto the tree, but it actually puts its paws on the front of the bonnet and then takes them off. But heavy. You're going to head over to Chris, who's still on quarantine, trying to find his way back home.
Like John T mentioned earlier, I am scratching around here at quarantine, and he reckons it's to be close to breakfast. This camp is nearby, and that's 100% true, because you have to get to breakfast before John T, otherwise there's nothing left. Talk about breakfast. A couple of impala here also enjoying their breakfast. There's a crested bobbitt sort of doing its little sound there in the background. A woodland kingfisher. There's a Cape turtle dove as well that's also going on about something. Lovely. Yeah, impala are so common, but I think they're still awesome to watch. There we go. Little one. Hi there, Miranda. Not this time around. Not during this this shift. My previous one, I did a few runs. I actually injured my ankle on my very first day here on this segment, pretty badly. It's fine now, but it's not in the state where I can run or walk too far. Yeah, I just misjudged the step and I sprained it relatively badly. Look at that. Full of joy and energy. But yes, a lot of the guys do it. You know, we do take a bit of a run. It's such a lovely area because it's open. You can see far ahead, you know, in terms of cats, any danger. So it will be a lovely. I think next time around, I'll bring my own car and perhaps bring my mountain bike and do a bit of a couple of laps. I was very inactive this time around, I must say. Well, what a way to end my last morning out here. I will still be out this afternoon. And really hope you're all going to join me for one last go. And hopefully that will be a perfect ending to a perfect shift here at WildEarth in the magnificent Sabi Sand Reserve. It's been an incredible journey, and still have one last outing to go, the last hurrah. So therefore, it's imperative that you join me this afternoon. And hopefully we can wrap this whole thing up in fashion. See you then.